Welcome to Game of Books with Cathi in South Dakota.
That's me, and Christy in South Florida.
That's me. We're two newbie writers sharing our take on wine, food, and mystery books.
And the authors who write them. Join us for the fun.
Hey, Cathi and all you mysterious foodies. Happy Friday the 13th. At least I think. Unless you're superstitious, and then I'll go with beware the Ides of March. I'm getting into Shakespeare or whatever.
There's and Pie Day, National Pie Day, 314.
Oh, you're kidding! Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that.
Tomorrow, as we record
tomorrow.
This.
Yeah, tomorrow, and then the Ides of March is 3:15.
Yep. Yeah, so what do you think about Friday the 13th? Do you ever observe it or stay home so you avoid dangerous things?
Well, no, I don't. In fact, my daughter she was born on June 13th.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a Friday when she was born, but whenever her birthdays falls on the 13th, it's like a big deal. So I remember she had one birthday where we gave away like rabbit's feet and,
for the party favors?
What do you call them? Horseshoe. Yeah, like anything like lucky things,
Oh, that's funny. That's really funny.
So it was like the opposite of bad luck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't really buy into that either. But the Ides of March is very interesting, actually.
Yeah. Do you know about the Ides of March?
Well, I mean,
you know what it started as?
Just
it
a
was
little
like
bit.
New Year's before, like in Roman times or something.
Yeah, it was their day of kind of to wrap things up, I guess. But a lot of things have happened in the course of history on that date, not just Julius Caesar's death.
Right.
So it's kind of odd,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad used to have a party for that, too.
He did?
My family just likes to party, I guess.
That's awesome. He had an Ides of March party?
Yes. Yeah. He would have it when he was a teacher, and, everybody would come over and have a big party in March for whatever reason. I don't know why, but
that's awesome.
It was fun. Anyway, so if we're going to keep up with these creepy, suspicious lines, this week we're pairing food and wine with Strangers at the Gate by Catriona McPherson.
Yes, this book really does have a disturbing kind of gothic feel to it. It's set in a small town in Scotland, which is very fun, and there's plenty of superstition there, it seems. And next week we get to talk to Catriona herself, and I'm really looking forward to it. She is also, Christy, as you know, the guest of honor at Sleuth Fest later this month.
I know. Yes, we love Sleuth Fest. I really think that is, of the writing conferences we've been to, I think that's the best one for craft. It's just... So it's a small group, so it's not too huge, but you just learn so much, and then you get those hands-on with the authors and the agents and the editors too. Yep.
So, I agree. Yeah, it's one of the best things I've ever done for my writing life, and it's completely worth the investment, and not to mention it's a lovely place to visit in the winter for Midwesterners.
Yes. And of course, that's where we met.
So it is.
Yes. This is where we started our journey.
We will always have a soft
journey.
Yes, a soft spot for Sleuth Fest.
Yeah, and so if there's still time to sign up, I guess.
Yeah, you can go to sleuthfest.com. And for those who aren't familiar with it, which I wasn't, I just happened upon it when I was looking for writers' conferences a few years ago, but it is the Florida chapter of the MWA, Mystery Writers of America, in which you are a member. And it is a lovely, lovely weekend. So go to sleuthfest.com.
Yep. And then if you go, you'll get to hobnob with Catriona, who we're going to talk to next week, and all these agents and editors, and of course I'll be there. So.
I'm going to miss it this year.
Deerfield Beach.
Yeah,
I know, but it's so close to me. It's right in Deerfield Beach, and so register so I can meet you guys.
Yeah, and come find her. Okay, so don't you think we should get ready to talk about the wine today?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. What have we got?
Okay, so I found a wine inspired for a book club meeting for Catriona's book that you could not find in Florida, so I'm enjoying that.
I know, and I'll sip another wine. We can describe that next week.
Okay.
Because
And they're
next
both
week's episode is...
Yeah, and they're both cabs, so that works really well. But this week's wine is 3 Girls Cabernet Sauvignon, and it is produced by Oak Ridge Winery, and they produce many different wines, but this is one of their lines, and I just love this. Before I tell you the tasting notes, they say that 3 Girls is the captured and bottled pure essence of innocence and youth.
Aw.
I know, isn't that lovely?
Well,
it says,
I really like the name of it too. I mean,
yeah,
despite the fact that I'm one of 3 girls.
Well, isn't that interesting?
I still can appreciate the wine.
It says 3 loving owners are watching their 3 daughters transition from childhood into young adulthood. Never underestimate the power of 3. Isn't that cool?
Yes.
I just thought it was really neat. It's a really cool bottle. But anyway, so on to the tasting notes.
Yeah, it is.
So it contains ripe, dark fruit, smoke, and vanilla notes with a full-bodied sweet fruit and creamy texture. And I am just going to have to tell you,
yummy.
It is really good. It's a very nice bottle of wine. It's not expensive, and it's very nice.
Wow, that sounds good. And what made you decide to pick this for this book?
Well, I actually started with the food for this book. As you know, when you read one of the a pretty major scene at the beginning, it's a couple of couples having dinner, and it's not a good dinner. I mean, the food described is not great, right? Like she has them.
It's probably like Scottish delicacies, right?
Well,
but
she has the funniest description. Catriona describes the female host of the couple as cleaning the potatoes with a Brillo pad. It was like, and she, so this woman who's the guest is watching this going, oh, I'm going to be eating potatoes being scrubbed with like a Brillo pad. And they talk about frozen chicken breasts only. And so I decided that what would be fun is to take kind of a chicken and potato meal and make a real homey, nice meal for a food club gathering. And so I would suggest that you would make a balsamic red wine roasted chicken with vegetables along the side.
Yum.
Yeah. So I picked the bottle to go in my recipe as well as drink.
Well, that sounds yummy.
I know.
I thought you were going to say coq au vin or something like that.
Well, it is a very...
that's French.
Yeah. It's a similar kind of concept. I mean, basically you're just roasting the chicken and veggies in a lot of balsamic and red wine.
But I love that. Are you going to make that when I come out?
I could. I will do that. But I thought
it'd be really easy to make.
It's really easy to make. And I thought, what a fun kind of homey around the fireplace, right? Doesn't that match the feel of the book, kind of?
Yeah, and so it calls for like a cab or a type of red wine like that.
It does. It does. And I will put the link to this recipe I found on our blog. The recipe actually comes from a food blog called Host the Toast.
Oh,
yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I'm new to this food blog, but I thought I kind of started digging around. They've got a lot of really great recipes, so I'm anxious to try it. Yeah.
Well, good. My stomach's growling right now.
Awesome.
I should always eat before these podcasts. Okay, so now that we have our food and wine, it's time to discuss the book. And as we said, it's Catriona McPherson. She's the author. She's an award-winning and best-selling author of the Dandy Gliver historical mystery series, which she has like 14 books in that series. Then she has 2 books in the Lexi Campbell series, which is a humorous mystery set in California. And then she has somewhere like, I counted like 10 standalone novels.
Wow.
So she's pretty prolific. And Strangers at the Gate is actually a Mary Higgins Clark finalist book. And it is also a standalone, which I would say is like a dark mystery or maybe a psychological suspense, something like that.
Yeah. You know, it's quite a year to be honored with the Mary Higgins Clark award to be one of the finalists because sadly she just passed away at the end of January at the age of 92. And she, you know, is huge in the mystery industry. She's known as the Queen of Suspense, 56 best-selling books. And, you know, most mystery writers are also Mary Higgins Clark readers, I would think. And I certainly read a lot of her books and loved them.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, I remember hearing at one of the workshops that we went to when one of the authors was saying, hey, you know, if you think you don't have time to write, look at Mary Higgins Clark because she was widowed at a young age and had 5 young kids to raise. And she was able to write her first novel before she would go to work where she wrote radio shows in order to support her children. And then she went on to write, 56 bestsellers. So she's really an inspiration.
I actually have a printout of an interview that Harlan Coben had given, and he said the same thing. He said, "Don't tell me you can't find time to write. If Mary Higgins Clark could find the time to write with 5 kids and a job and being widowed, everyone can find time to write." And I think about that often, actually.
Yeah. So it's either an inspiration or we just get shamed. You're just shamed. Yeah, I think we should do a little cheers.
All right.
Cheers to Mary Higgins Clark.
Cheers, Mary Higgins Clark.
Rest in peace.
Yes.
You'll have your books to read forever, so that's great. So anyway, this particular book, the Mary Higgins Clark finalist book, was a pretty haunting ride, don't you think?
Yes, I do. From the get-go. Catriona knows how to pull you in.
I thought it was going to be funny because she seems so funny, and she does write funny books too. Mm-hmm. So I thought, oh, this is going to be kind of funny. And I mean, yeah, there was some sort of, you know, a little bit of a dry humor in there, but man, there was, you know, there's a lot going on in that little Scottish town.
The setting was great. I mean, that just made it, I think.
Did you have any trouble with the language barrier?
I did struggle a little bit. I had to really kind of adjust. And I think you get used to it pretty quickly, but it did take me a minute for sure.
Yeah, but it's fun. I mean, it was kind of fun in a way, but it would be like, you know, like in the beginning, even in like the first page where they called a flashlight a torch. Now that one we could figure out that they weren't talking about like a fire, or she wasn't talking about a fire torch, but it still was like, oh, this is funny. So I guess that's what they call flashlights, you know, because it was referred to a torch a few times. Mm-hmm. And so then there was other things like that throughout the book that first you're like, what? And then you're, wait a minute. And then you're like, oh, this is funny. I hope I remember this because whenever I go visit Scotland, I want to know.
Are you planning to visit Scotland soon?
Well, maybe on my Ireland trip, I'll swing by Scotland too.
I think you should.
Yeah. You're like, I want to go.
I know. I was like, wait, is there something I don't know?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't mind. I would like to go to Scotland in the summer, even though I think it was probably cold to me all year round. But
I would love to visit. I will have to have Catriona fill us in a little bit on Scotland. I can't wait to. I can't wait to talk to her, and I think I'll just be able to listen to her accent and get lost in that.
I know. I know. That'll be fun.
Yep.
That'll be a lot of fun. And the one other thing about the book that I thought was an interesting thing to talk about was the main character was a pastor.
Yeah.
Is that how they refer to her? So she was from the Church of Scotland. Mm-hmm. And apparently but she was raised, what I could figure was maybe Catholic, but I couldn't tell for sure. it was kind of hard, but I think there must be some sort of rivalry going on a little bit in Scotland. And I was like, well, that's an interesting thing.
I just thought how her career was handled was really interesting. You know, her spouse was a lawyer, and she, I mean, certainly was a impressive professional in her own right, but it seemed to be, I don't know, not as prestigious of a profession, the way people talk to her in this village as we think of it in the United States.
Right.
I mean, I think clergy always are really well respected and well thought of. But, you know, it also there was a really small town feel. And so that was a part of it, too. I think just the personalities that she met and engaged with. But, I thought it was really fun.
It was learning. I was learning stuff as well as being creeped out. And
entertained, yes.
Suspensed and all that.
Yeah. Writer's perspective.
Okay, so today for Writer's Perspective, we want to discuss setting in a novel, which makes sense because, you know, this book has a great setting. And I think you do too, that setting can be almost like another character in the story.
Oh, for sure.
And like in this book, can see that Catriona has a real knowledge and passion for this Scottish environment. And even though we don't have a clue if she's telling us the truth, she could be lying, I guess. But we know she really has a good feel for it. And I kind of I wanted to just read this one little section because this is what when I think of somebody using setting in a really good way and not like just boring, drag yourself down. That adds to the story. It's when she was talking about the trees around her new house in a small town. And she said, if only they looked a little bit less like a silent army of strangers standing dead still and watching me. If only there weren't faces etched in the swirl of the bark, not whole mouths wide open, and black eyes weeping resin tears. And you're like, ooh, creepy. Yeah. She's like, you know, city girl coming out here and she's just being creeped out. And you just got that feeling. And plus you got a real good visual. I just thought it was cool.
I did too. And I thought she used the she used the setting to establish the tone right away. And you just have this kind of impending sense of doom feeling just because of the setting. And despite that, we still want to go visit.
Yes, I know, right? Because we're like, okay, we like creepy places. All right.
Yeah, I really, I mean, obviously Catriona is from Scotland, and so this is what she, you know, grew up with, and so that would be really fun to hear from her. You know, if she did live in a small little village like this. But I do think it's really important to know a lot about your setting and, like you say, treat it like a character because it helps you establish so much visual for the reader. I know I've mentioned a few times to you about other authors, but John Sanford is one where he always goes to the location that he's writing about. Oh
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and another author that does that is Daniel Silva.
Of course.
Yeah, and so he
well, but how could he? He goes everywhere. He must. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think
because his books are like, oh my gosh, they are all over the place.
Yeah. I think he's very well traveled, from my understanding.
Yes, I think so.
I mean, it's ideal, but not obviously feasible all the time. I mean, you can't always write what you experience firsthand. But man, if you could, it'd be great.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. But there are some tricks, I guess. I mean, some people use tricks because I know we talked to one writer who had never even been to where his book took place, but he was able to conjure up the inside environment of where the stuff was taking place, I guess, and that made a difference. But I don't know. Do you have any tricks? You have any tricks? I'm thinking Kathy's got like a wall with pictures of different environments.
You know me very well.
Like a storyboard.
I do really like. Yes, I do. Yes, I have. When I have traveled for settings, I have taken photos and actually printed them out, and I will, put them on my bulletin board when I'm writing that scene. But I think you can do the same thing with a Pinterest board if you haven't, if you're not taking the photos first. I mean, there's a lot you can just research. I mean, Googling images for any place is such an awesome tool at your fingertips.
Yeah.
What about you?
And I have done that just for specific things, especially when I'm trying to picturing something like this dock or this house in this certain area, and I want to get a better visual. I'll just search on the internet until I get the one that I think would work, and that way when I'm blocking out the scene, I can exactly say, okay, the door's here, this is here, there's the water, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That is helpful when you just can't go into some strange person's house and say, can I look around?
Yeah.
Because your house is really creepy, so I thought it might be a really good scene.
Yeah. I'd like to kill someone here.
Okay, Cathi, I am really getting excited about this trip to South Dakota. Hopefully,
Yay!
everything works out. I'm a little nervous.
So.
Yeah, I am a little nervous because we had cold weather last week, like 3 days in a row, where it was
like what cold?
Well, like it got down to maybe close to 40 at night, and then the high would be like the upper 60s, maybe 70. But it gets cold then because like we have tile inside the house, so the tile gets cold, and we never really want to turn our heat on, so we just deal with the cold. But then when you got to take a shower, then it's cold. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what it's going to be like in South Dakota. I mean, tell me, how do you deal with it? Do you have like little heaters in your bathroom or anything?
Well, I do have heated tile on my bathroom floor. But,
oh, really?
But,
oh, cool.
Yeah. But it's actually really nice right now. It's like all of our snow is melting. It's beautiful. So I don't think it's going to be too cold for you.
Okay, but I don't want all the snow to melt. That was one of my goals,
I know.
to see the snow. I didn't think it ever melted.
I am very shocked, but we have got an incredible 10-day forecast, and the snow is just melting right away.
Oh, wow.
So I'm sorry, but I don't know if we're going to have snow for you. I
You
know.
You will. It's still over 10 days away, I think.
It is. And, traditionally we get the most snowfall in March. And so it would be very odd if we didn't get some more snow. So who knows? The one thing about South Dakota weather is it changes really dramatically, really quickly.
Right.
So who knows? Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Even if it doesn't snow, we'll still have fun.
Yes, we will.
And, get a lot of work done, and we'll get a lot of fun done, and I'll still be cold. I know I will. So, so anyway, but don't forget next week we have Corks in Conversation with Catriona McPherson.
Yes, and don't forget to look into Sleuthfest if you are at all interested in our writers' conference focusing on mystery.
Yes. I mean, I think it even works if you're not totally doing mysteries because it's such a great writing conference. But
it is. There are a lot of very just general writing classes that are wonderful.
Yeah. All right. So until next time, I say cheers to you, Cathi.
Until then, cheers. Thanks to our mysterious foodies out there for listening and sharing. Check out our website, gameofbookspodcast.com. where you can find links to all we talk about. And if you subscribe to our weekly newsletter, you can get those links sent directly to you, along with any exciting updates. We are also on Facebook and Twitter under @GOBWriters.
And if you enjoyed this episode as much as we did, we would love to hear from you, and please subscribe to Game of Books wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss any of our book club ideas and Corks and Conversations with award-winning and best-selling authors.
That's all for today's episode of Game of Books Podcast, where we share food, wine, and mystery every Friday morning, just in time for the weekend.
This is Christy
And Kathy.
saying thanks for listening.
Bye,
Bye everybody.